All right. I want to start, before we start talking about Chapter 2, is look at how the class will be going forward. Today's the 26th. We're talking about Chapters 1 and 2 in the Sage software program. Next week, the 5th, we'll be talking about Chapters 3 and 4. The reason I'm going 2 chapters at a time is that there are case questions for 2 chapters in Blackboard that you have to complete. There's not a lot of points on it, 20 points. However, it's my judgment then, or I can judge how you are answering these questions appropriately. So if there are some things that I think that you should get and you're not getting, we will address them in the next discussion. So on the 5th then, 3 and 4 are what we're going to be talking about. If you want to collaborate, that's fine. You certainly can do so. On the 12th then, which is the week before break, is when I will give you the Net Solutions project. That's the TSA project. So I'll hand that out. We'll talk about that project so that you can get started on it, and as well as work on it over break if you wish to. You don't have to. I just wanted to get it out there before break. So that's on the 12th. You'll notice that the due dates, the discussion's on the left, the due dates are on the right. So hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory. When you get back from break then on the 26th, we'll be talking about chapters 5 and 6. And again, the due dates are 1 week after the discussion. And just kind of follows from there. Everybody clear on the due dates?
Yes.
All right, so let's look at Chapter 2 then. This one-page overview, the way I have it set up is that I try to pick out at least 10 things to talk about. Top 10 list. Anybody watch Letterman, David Letterman, Top 10? That was my inspiration for this. Again, I just dated myself, but that's okay. Chapter 2 is about creating a new company file within Sage. So you're starting brand new, starting from nothing basically. And when you do that in the Sage software, you go under File and click New Company. And it then takes you through a series of questions. That's what Chapter 2's discussion is about. So, a couple of things when you create a new company. What do you need to do or know for that company? On page 41 of your textbook, again, I'm jumping around a little bit, but on page 41, it does talk about accounting methods, cash or accrual, right? Which one is GAAP approved, guys? It would be, they prefer we use the accrual method, right? But cash is certainly acceptable, is it not? IRS will accept cash basis for many companies if they're small. You got to be a certain size, right? Or farmers. Farmers are cash basis also. So it's certainly a legitimate choice for many companies. On page 42, posting is real time. Batch posting is something very archaic. In the old days, the 80s, before you were born, they used to batch process. So people would enter their data all day, and at night they would post it. Well, now with software, with computers and their speeds, everything is real time. So there's a discussion on that difference of posting processes on page 42. Sage can have 2 open fiscal years at one time. And you kind of saw that when we were looking at the periods There's 24 periods open. In this case, mine's 19 and 20. And if you go to 2021, you got to close 19. So the software forces you to close it at that point. Just QuickBooks doesn't really have a closing process. Pages 46, 47, you practice the objective as well as start a new objective. So the software or the chapters are laid out where you have an objective and then you practice it. Have an objective and you practice it. And on page 51, if I can have you turn there, and I have a lot of case questions on page 51. There's a sample chart of accounts. Because chapter 2, once you create a new company, the first thing you have to do is create a chart of accounts. And like QuickBooks, there are sample companies. You can download a sample chart of accounts. But I'm going to have you create your own. All right? So, one of the things, when you create a new chart of accounts, is the number system. And the number of digits is also important when you create a number system. So I would like you to get in the habit of anything with a 1, starting number 1, is an asset. 2s are liabilities. 3 is equity, all the equity accounts. 4 is revenue or sales. And then 5 is cost of sales. And starting with our 6s and 7s would be our expenses. GAAP requires the accounting system to be laid out in the accounting equation sequence. Assets have to be first, liabilities have to be second, equity third, revenue fourth. Every chart of accounts is laid out that way. Now the number of digits is also important. So if I have a 4-number digit, guess what? My entire chart of accounts has to be 4 number of digits. So if this is my checking account and 1002 is my accounts receivable, right? I can't have a 103 for inventory, right? That ain't gonna fly. So we can't have how can I say that? A different number quantity. Same number of digits. Again, that'll keep it organized from top to bottom. Also, on page 49 and 50, if there is any spot in the book I would like you to kink the page or make sure you have a reference to, is 49 and 50. Let me put it in red. When you create your chart of accounts, you have to tell it what type it is. Is it cash? Is it accounts receivable? Is it inventory? Is it other current asset? Is it a fixed asset? Can someone tell me what a fixed asset is? What's an example of a fixed asset? It's assets that are what?
More than 1 year.
More than 1 year that we depreciate, right? Yeah. Equipment, building are fixed assets. An example, what's an example of an other current asset?
Office supply.
Office supplies, if it's inventory, less than a year. Correct, exactly. We wouldn't have a investment in stock of ABC company as an other current. It would be other asset, right? So I will be looking as to how you're categorizing your chart of accounts. Now, the reason that these types, and there's 16 types here that you have to pick from, is I've seen already prepaid expenses on the income statement. Or I've seen accumulated depreciation on an income statement from students. They have the wrong type. They know exactly what they did. So, or I've seen office expense in my assets. It should just say office supplies, right? That's the proper name for your asset account. So, look at your statements. Make sure that they look properly. Here too is another important thing. If you're going to fire somebody from your accounting department or lay them off, what is the first thing you do before you tell them?
Oh, bring up the evidence and bring up the stuff that they did wrong or...
No. Before you do that, before you even talk to them, what are you going to do? Take away what?
Their access.
Their access, right? Because they can easily damage your information rather quickly. We'll show you how quickly you can do it in Sage or QuickBooks, it doesn't matter. Get rid of their access or get rid of their computer, right? That's the first thing they do. They do that here too. You can't even touch your computer if you're escorted out. Okay? So, keep that in mind. Now, in the software, to create a chart of accounts, it's under the maintain. And it's kind of the fourth item down here. Not sure why they put it down there. But that's where you would start with your chart of account creation. And Chapter 2 obviously is going to direct you to this location. And obviously they're going to give you some information on that. And if I pull up a chart of account, you'll notice, what does it ask for first? The number, right? That's the ID number. Description, I'll make a note on description. That's the description that will print out on your statements, on your balance sheet, as well as your income statement. Those are the two statements that we have to create. What would you say if you saw something like this? I don't know if you can see that. I wish I could make this bigger. What it says is office supplies. What do we call this?
Sometimes if you have actual, you're going to put in assets, but
Other current asset, right? Because it's current. But if you notice, if you can't read it, it says it's all lowercase. Okay? So that's how it's going to print out on your financials. Is that appropriate?
No.
What should I do?
The O and the S should be capitalized for office and supplies.
Yep. Either one. Both capitalized or just the first word. I've seen companies that I've worked for, it's only the first word that's capitalized, not the second word. So it depends on who you work for. What is their preference? But what do I want to see? I want to see
The same.
consistency, right?
Yes.
Don't do it once, all caps, and the other time, first word is only cap, or,
Like
that's, yes. Consistency. You don't want to be a distraction. Your reports cannot be distracting, or what were you thinking? Okay? Spelling. I know I'm a lousy speller, but I will make comments if it's not spelled correctly. It's got to be spelled correctly. Office supplies, don't forget there's 2 F's in office, that sort of thing. Bankers love to make fun of us, so if they can do it, they will. All right, to print out the chart of accounts, it's under the reports section. I'm down here now. Under reports, it's a menu bar. All the reports are found there in your software. So here we are. I'm going to close this. Under reports and forms, general ledger is what you'll learn about in chapter 2, and chart of accounts. Pretty simple. This is a 5-number system. 1s are all assets, 2s are liabilities. It looks good. The account type is shown, which is what I want to look at this chapter, is your account type. All right. There is multiple account receivable. In most companies, you only have one for your customers, right? The ones that you bill on account. Same thing with accounts payable. There's only one accounts payable for your vendors. I don't want to see an account payable type for federal withholding payable or for FICA payable, right? It's only for the vendors that owe us money. That's our control account. That's our control account. Now, for your reports, guys, since we're showing this, I would like to see your name as part of the company name. Why do I want to do that?
So we can, or we did just pull an example one.
Or from somebody else, correct, Allison? I want to know it's your work and not somebody else's. So how do I get your name into the company name? It's found under maintain. So I'm going to close this report, close the report section.
When you create the company anyways, you can choose the name.
Yes, yes. When you create your new company, you can add it there. But let's say I give you a backup file for a case. Well, I got to get my name in there. So under maintain, way toward the bottom is company information. So let me do that again. Under maintain, it's the 3/4 of the way down. And I can click company information. And everybody has a unique first name. There's nobody that has a different first name. Just type in your first name at the end. Now, if it's your first name is long, just abbreviate. I would understand that also. Or take out, in this case, supply. If you wanted to get your full name in, just modify this company name so that it fits. Press OK. So when reports are done, I can see your name there in the company name. And I will have you do that on every case that you're going to do. In addition to answering questions, you are going to have to upload some reports. And in all cases, the reports can be printed as a PDF. There's a PDF choice right on the report. Save it as a PDF file. Okay? I think I said okay a couple of times already today. Any other questions? You're all young. I'm almost done, so hang in there, guys.
So you said for the first and second chapter, we have to put our name on the company or not yet?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
There is no project for chapter 1 or work for chapter 1, but chapter 2, when you create a new company, put your first name somewhere in the company name.
Oh, I already submitted, so I have to change my...
We'll worry about that. We'll help you there. Okay. There's another okay. If you're counting, I think that's 4 or 5. Page 2. let's say you're working for a company that has been in business for a while, and you're switching from QuickBooks software and you're going to Sage. Well, they have beginning balances, right? So starting on page 59 or 61, let's turn to page 61 of our book. Table 2-7. They have us enter beginning balances. So what the book will show you is one way. I'm going to show you another. I'm going to show you there's two ways to do the same thing. So here's what the book will do. So just follow me on my screen. You don't have to do anything else. So I'm under Maintain. I'm under Chart of Accounts. I'm just going to create one here. Just a fake one. What is their cash? 12,000? I'm going to use 5 digits, guys. Slush fund. The IRS would love us that, right? Okay? So I just created a new account called Slush Fund. It's a cash type, right? It's money. And to the right of that question, or to the right of the type, is account beginning balances. And this is exactly like QuickBooks. There is no difference. Say yes. It asks you to pick a starting period. Most companies will switch at year end. Why is that?
Less messy.
Less
Messy.
It is less messy. Why is it less messy?
You don't have to clean up all your accounts and transfer basically everything you've done throughout the year.
Which accounts don't I have to worry about their balances?
All your expense and revenue,
Very good. Why?
because you close those out.
Very good. Excellent. So that's why most companies will switch at year end. But again, some will do it during the year. Because year end is also very busy, is it not?
Yes.
So it depends on the company. But anyway, you pick a period that you want to start from, press OK, and then just basically enter the amount as it shows in table 2-7 on page 61. You put all the debits in, you put all the credits in. Hopefully they balance, right? And there's even a total on the bottom here that tells you whether it balances. It will not save it unless it balances, right? It will not save unless it balances for all the accounts. That's one way. There's nothing wrong with that way. It's just one way that the software program does it. Now, what I want to know, there is another way to enter. And I'd like you to make this note, because you will be doing it this way for the project as well, the Net Solutions project. I would like you to make one journal entry. I feel it's quicker. It's also much easier to modify if I did make a mistake. Now, the problem with this is if I go to General Journal Entry, so I'm under Tasks, right? General Journal Entries toward the bottom. Students enter the balance in the slush fund. Right away they want, well, what's the credit? You don't need the credit. What's the next account? It's cash or petty cash, right? Cash on hand means the same thing. For 250. And you keep making the debits and you keep making the credits. If I do it right, they should balance, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to make a debit and then a credit to something else, and a debit and a credit to something else. Just put them all in the sequence. The entry's made for us already, just like it is on page 61. You put all your debits and credits in at the same time, one entry. Does that make sense? All right. So when you do your case, if there is one with beginning balances, you can do it either way. You can do it the book way, or you can make a general journal entry. Most clients will do it with a general journal entry.
Why is that?
It's easier, they have more control. If I want to modify it, I can make a better adjustment then.
Okay.
Because once you use the opening balance, it's basically there.
Oh, you can't change that.
It's very hard.
Okay.
All right. Okay, cases. Can I have you turn to page 69, and this will wrap up our discussion on chapter 2. We're actually going to do 2 because chapter 1 doesn't have any. So for chapter 2, there are 2 cases, 2.1a and 2.2a on page 71. They basically have us create a new company called GJ Professional. The steps are there. They give you the company information. As a reminder, add your first name to the company name when you create it. Then it's there. If you forget, go to maintain company information, right? Maintain company information will allow you to edit it. It is rather long, so if you do have a long first name, you may not be able to fit it in. Shrink the word accounting or get rid of it entirely if you wish to. GJ Professional, Gary. The requirement is to basically then create a chart of accounts, and that's on page 70.
How does a chart of account have to be?
Pardon?
How long does a chart of account has to be?
It's whatever they tell you to create.
Okay.
Whatever they have you do, and then they have you delete some accounts or edit them.
Okay.
Okay, it's something that you would do in real life. Watch the spelling, guys, because I'll be looking for that. Spelling is accurate. And you'll notice that they capitalize the first and second words of the account name. Just be consistent, right? Follow their number system. And also, it has beginning balances, and you can, as you create your chart of accounts, enter those beginning balances in. Or if you prefer, you can also make a general journal entry. Doesn't matter. I don't care how you get them in. Either way will work. Once you're done, print off the chart of accounts as a PDF file. This will be one of your questions in your case in Blackboard. So we'll get to that shortly. We're not there yet, but we'll be there shortly. After that, practice it. 2-2A, Olson, same kind of stuff. Create a new company called Olson for the period 2017. These are both 2017 years. That's their fiscal year start. So just be aware of that. If you accidentally put 19, I'm not going to dock you because it's just a chart of accounts anyway. We are not going to be using these cases, these GJ or Olson in future chapters. So it's not, I think QuickBooks you built, right?
No, I think that's just the online one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the regular one, there's separate file for each.
For each chapter? Oh, there is. Okay, so that's how this is set up. There's separate ones for each chapter. This, or both cases, now this will not take you long, guys. It's probably maybe an hour's worth of work here to create the chart of accounts. and enter the beginning balances in. So it shouldn't take you long. So again, I started out slow here just so that if you had Excel Project 4 to work on, that you had time to do it here in class. Finally, after the due date, which is next week, Tuesday on the 5th at midnight, mine are always on midnight, there's a list of company files. Wildwood, GJ, Olson, Maslow, Installation. These are all either case or chapter companies. There's only one that if you wanted to practice, it would be Wildwood Medical. That's in the chapter. This is a chapter. Remember, within the chapter, you have an objective and you practice, right? Well, this Wildwood is used in chapter 3. I just want to make a note of it. Some students don't even do any of the chapter work. That's okay. But if I see you missing questions, I'm going to be starting to bug you a little bit. Bug you means I'm going to talk to you. Okay? Because at this point, this is a 4th semester course, right? I can't have you going out into practice and you don't know what statement accounts receivable is on. That's embarrassing. So those things I'm going to be looking at to address if there is any concern with that. Or if I ask you how to compute a book value and you give me the gross asset instead of the book value amount. To me, that's a problem. Okay? Now, I'm not saying you need to know everything. I just want to make sure that you understand it once you leave this class. Okay? Because I forget. Oh my gosh. I forget a lot of things. Thank God for Google. Because Google some of those things that you may not know. Go to your Accounting 1 textbook. You still have it?
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Expensive.
I know. You got to keep it then. I still have mine. Mine is still sitting in my bookcase. I laminated it, so it'll be preserved. But that's what I'm talking about. Those kind of questions that you should know. Okay? Because it's so embarrassing when you don't know their answer and they look at you funny. Okay? That's number 6 on the okay word, just if you're counting. Any thoughts on how I have this structured? I'm letting you go, kind of, right? It's up to you what you want to do and how much work you wish to do. There was a question, I forgot what it was. I can't remember now. Gosh, Gary. It's heck getting old. Oh. Yes, I remember now. Woo! Gary. Where is this case question stuff? It's in Blackboard. So I'm under class materials. Learning Plan 5 is chapters 1 and 2. It's the only one that's combined into one section. And the reason I do that is that there is no case for chapter 1. So, for chapter 2 then, after you've completed chapter 2's cases, there are test questions. This is at the bottom of the learning plan. Just click on that. You can begin at any point. It's due March 5th. Select what from the menu bar to enter transactions of all types in the general journal and the special journals. Well, that would be tasks. I'll give you one, right? That's where we enter all our stuff. So you answer a series of these questions, and also toward the bottom, after your questions, and a lot of these you could do right now, some true false. Here's where I'm asking you to upload the PDF files. One for case 21A and the other another chart of account or general ledger different account report, or report, general ledger report 42-2A. Now, here's another task that you have to be careful of. I may ask for the general ledger report, and a student gives me the general journal report. Big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference, right? So be careful what report I want you to upload. Now, guys, it's a half a point. I mean, out of 20, big deal. But it's a half a point. So here again, as you're thinking about work life, if your boss asks for one report and you give them a different one, that's embarrassing. So know what report and what is on the report. I may ask you, what's in the debit column on this customer ledger report? What's on the credit column? What transaction type is on the credit side of the general ledger report? That kind of thing. Can you read the reports that you're printing off? If I see on any balance sheet a negative accounts payable, I'll have a heart attack. Right? Now, I can see a negative cash. Yeah, I've done it, right? Bankers hate to see negative cash balances, by the way. What did I do? If I saw negative cash, what happens when you have a negative cash balance? You spent more, or you wrote your checks out. So right away, what do I know? I know you got checks sitting in the safe printed. You can't mail them out yet because you don't have enough money. I've done it. Because hopefully a customer pays us, and we can make a deposit, and then we can send the checks out. I think when I worked for a company, that was my main job, watch cash flow, basically. Who do you pay first when you're working for somebody? Not yourself.
Employee.
Employees number one, right? Who gets paid number two?
They have to pay
Who?
you have to pay the payable, the debt.
No, vendors can wait.
Oh.
Who's number two? The IRS
Oh.
is number two, right? Payroll taxes, unemployment taxes.
Yep.
State is number three, because there's huge penalties on those. And then number four is my main vendors. Which are my main vendors? The ones we ask for
Loan.
credit references from, right? You got to keep a couple vendors happy so that they can say, yes, they pay right on time, so that you can get credit references from other vendors. So just some tricks of the trade. All right, that's all I have for today. Let me know how your install is going and if you can get into the program. If you have your laptop here, we can practice it to make sure. If you can run a report, you should be good to use that software, 2018 software, on your computer. That's the main goal this week, is to get that computer working for you and the software on it. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. The rest of the class is yours.